worked with doctors and I did my own formulations, and this is the best I got. This is what I'm going to come up with. I'm going to explain it for everybody, and it has to do with your ideal body weight, uh, more than just your goal. Instagram doesn't look like it's coming up. Actually, it's going to work. I'm trying to get Instagram. So give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. We're running live here. We got it. I think we got it. We're good. All right. So here's the deal. Ideal protein, not the company. What is ideal protein levels for different capacities? I'm gonna break this down for you. I'm gonna give you a website that I found that I think is really good at helping you find your ideal body weight. So for many years we know that protein's important, right? But the question is how much do you have? And I want to give you a slight overview before I really dive into this. And down below, put down how much protein you think you should be eating. Like, what does that look like for you? And what I learned in like, especially in the performance world and strength training and fitness and athletics, is 1 gram of protein per body weight. Well, that's great for like a bodybuilder, a fitness competitor that's trying to build muscle. You need to take extra protein to build muscle, and that's great. That's still hard. If you're 300 pounds, that's 300 grams of protein. If you're 200 pounds, that's 200 grams of protein. That can be a tall feat for a lot of people to hit on a daily basis. But what if you're trying to lose weight or you're looking for weight loss? Now, this is a little different because you don't necessarily need to put on, and you don't have to have an excessive amount of protein, but there is a number you should be hitting. And I've been wrestling with this for a long time because I just like, what is the formula? What's a good formula? And I was talking to Dr. Wilson, and he goes, this is what I came up with. And he goes, it's the best I've found. And I want to share it with you all. But the one challenge of this is like, how do you find your ideal body weight? And I really should have named this video, what is your ideal body weight? Maybe I'll do another one about that. I'm going to talk about it here, but I'm talking about it in regards to protein. So here's the formula, but I want to talk about your ideal body weight. I'm going to do some fun things here in a second. But what you're looking is that you got to find your ideal body weight. Once you find your ideal body weight, which I'm going to talk about in a second, you multiply that times 1. So if you're 130, if your ideal body weight's 130. So I want to say this again. If you weigh 200 pounds, your goal might be 150, but your ideal body weight might be 130. So I was talking to a friend of mine. She's 51, 52 years old. She weighs like 175. She's strong. Let's just say it that way. She's not wanting to try to be 120. But she was like, my goal is 150. How much protein do I need? I go, well, you got to find your ideal body weight. And she goes, well, I go, how tall are you? She goes, 5'2". I'm like, okay. I knew right away her ideal body weight's probably in the high 110s or 120. She hasn't seen 120 in 35 years, right? So it's like, that's not her goal. It's her ideal body weight. And this matters because her protein consumption is going to be based off of that. Now, it'll partly be based off of her goal. If you're trying to build muscle, this formula, you're going to have to go on the high side of the protein. But this is for 99% of you out there. If you're just trying to lose weight or stay healthy, this is your goal, is you got to find your ideal body weight. So I did the math. She's considered bigger boned or a larger frame. It's a wrist circumference, which the website I have will show you that. It's a wrist circumference. And it tells you if you're small, medium, or large size body frame. And then what you do is you put your height in, your sex. Some people have to put your age, but the age shouldn't matter. I'm going to be honest with you. It shouldn't matter how old you are. Maybe if you're a kid, but if you're an adult, it shouldn't matter. And what you're going to do is you're then going to multiply that times 1. So for her ideal body weight, let's just say it was 125. I know the math. We'll do 130. Let's say it was 130. So 1 times 130 is 130. So 130 grams of protein is on the high end. The low end for her is times 0.8, which is 104 grams of protein. So she would need to eat between 104 and 130 grams of protein. That would be your ideal body weight, if that makes any sense. Like, that's the secret. And so what she needs to do is try to hit that often as she can. Now, I love fasting, intermittent fasting, and long fasting, but on average, she needs to hit between 104 and 1 gram. She might find that she does better at 125 than she does at 104, or she might find that she does better at 104. That's trial and error. That's what you have to figure out. If she wants to build muscle, she should be on the high side, or if not, even a little higher. But this is super important because what's happening in the world right now is that too many people are undershooting their protein goals. But most people don't know their ideal body weight, so they don't even know how to figure it out, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So if you undershoot your protein goals, let's say that she's only consuming, her goal is 130 grams of protein a day, or let's say you have 104, and she's only having 80 or 70. Well, you need the protein, the building blocks, to restore your health, right? To replace proteins, right? It's going to help rebuild your body. And that would be like taking the wall from your bedroom to redo your bathroom. That's not the right way you'd want to do this, right? You'd want to bring lumber from outside the house, inside the house to redo the bathroom, not from your bedroom. So if you're not hitting your protein goals, you're basically not able to really rebuild your body at the same level. And this is super, super, super important. So finding out the numbers is really important. But at the same time, I find that too many people are shooting their doctors or their trainers tell them to go, you need 200 grams of protein a day, and they're drowning in protein to the point where they're not able to even eat it anymore. They're sick of it. They're not getting results. They feel crappy. Kat Evans, I wanted to talk to you about this, so stay on with me for a second. So this is the most important thing: is you got to find your ideal body weight. And so without your ideal body weight, you won't know what your real protein goals are. Because I work with a lot of people that the new guy I'm working with, he's 292. Well, if we did 1 gram of protein per body weight, he'd have to have 292 grams of protein. That's the only thing he would eat. He'd be on a carnivore diet. Well, that's not it. That's not what he wants to do, right? So, but he's 5'9", let's call him 5'10", tall 5'9". So his ideal body weight is 180. So I'm basing his protein goal off of 180. So now you're going to multiply 180 times 1, and then 180 times 0.8, and then he's going to eat between that range. Now, if he said I wanted to build muscle, then I would put him a little higher than that. I'm not going to probably ever push him. He's not a professional bodybuilder. So realistically, I'd like to get down to, so here, Kat, this is an example. Your ideal body weight isn't 250. That's your goal. This is really important. Your goal and your ideal body weight probably aren't the same. Most people have a higher goal weight than they do an ideal body weight. If I was to take us humans back 100, 200 years ago and say, what was their ideal body weight back then? People were way smaller because of just the nature of the world we live in. And so you want to go to the website. I sent you a private message on Messenger, but the actual website name is healthiereaters.com, ideal body weight calculator. And this is the best one I found. So Kat, if you don't mind, Kat, tell me how old you are. Actually, I don't need your age. I just need to know, really, I don't need to know much. I just need to know how tall you are. Kat, tell me how tall you are. And then on this website, if you just put down below, I'll send you a message on how to find this website. But all I need to know is your wrist circumference. So as a woman, I just need to know your current your current height. And then I just need to know your wrist circumference. You don't actually have to, I just need to know a pretty close number. So height, if you're under 5'2", how tall are you? So she's 5'6", okay? So you're 5'6". So your height is over 5'6". So your wrist size around your wrist, is it less than 6.25 inches? Is it between 6.25 and 6.5, or is it above 6.5? 6.5 inches. So your wrist circumference tells us kind of your body type. So it helps us kind of gauge where your protein levels are, because frankly, I'm a large body type. I have large wrists. Actually, I would like to know my wrist size. I don't even know my wrist size. So my wrist size is bigger than that. So if you don't know your wrist size, so for me, I'm considered big boned. That's what I'm saying. So you'd be 6.25 to 6.5. So I'm going to put this in, Kat, for you. So you're 5'6", so you're 66 inches tall, and you're medium framed female, 66 inches tall. Okay, I'm going to calculate it. So, Kat, this may shock you, it may not. Your ideal body weight is between 130 and 134 pounds. Your goal isn't that. So you're going to base your protein levels, why that matters, and it might be slightly skewed a little bit, because, and I can get into the deeper reasons of this. If you're open to it, I'll get into that. The reason why is that if you've been carrying 100 pounds more around every day of your life, you've put on more muscle than you would have if you wouldn't have carried that weight. Does that make sense? So you maybe your ideal body weight may have shifted a little further north. You're just stronger, right? You're almost like a weightlifter carrying yourself, if that makes sense. So you might be considered a little bit more muscular than somebody that weighed 170 that was at the same had the same wrist circumference, same height as you did. They might have a little lower ideal body weight just because they haven't had to carry the extra weight around, right? If I put a 100-pound pack on my back, which I used to carry all the time, and I walked around, I'm going to carry more muscle in general. So, but I want to be clear here. Your goal weight is 250. Your ideal body weight is way less than that. Ideal means in the perfect world, when we put you back in Jesus times, right? Biblical times, go back 2,500 years ago. How much would Cat Evans, how much would you weigh? What would you be? Well, you wouldn't be 250. It's actually be probably hard to get there unless you were like super wealthy and like pampered. Because it was actually really, really wealthy people that actually were bigger back then because they were the ones that were able to eat a lot of food. I had a doctor tell me one time that I was the most athletic, muscular, obese person he's ever met. Well, the truth is anybody that's carrying an extra 100 pounds around, you're strong. You have to be. You have to be. At the same time, if your brain is thinking, I have to eat 250 grams of protein a day or 200 grams of protein a day, Cat, that's more than I eat. And I guarantee you, I have more muscle on me than you. I guarantee it, right? And that's because my whole life has been around fitness and performance and working out. So this is super important because I want you to be able to hit a range that makes sense for you. What I would tell you, Kat, your weight range right now, your ideal body weight is between 130 and 134. Now, I would maybe slide you up a little higher because I would consider you maybe more in the athletic world because you're moving, you're athletic, you're strong. You may go for the 130 grams of protein or the 134 grams of protein a day. So you might go for 1 gram per body weight because you kind of fit into a different category. But this is really important because when you give people that range, so if I multiply it times 0.8, you'd be down to like 110 grams of protein a day, right? So somewhere between 110 grams of protein and 134 grams of protein a day would be what I would put you at. Now you could go, I can do that every day. Okay. Now, if you're going to go, hey, and then because you want to lose weight, I want to put you in caloric deficit, 500, preferably 500 grams or 500 calories less a day, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less on most days. So this is the secret weapon. Why it matters, why protein's so constant is the protein shouldn't change much from when you were 12, let's not say 12, when you're 25 to now at 48, your protein level should have stayed about the same. It's the other two that need to deviate based off of your goal for the most part. So meaning that if you want to lose weight, we want to bring your calories down. And then ideally, I like to bring carbohydrates down because it helps with insulin resistance and all the other things that can go along with high carb lifestyle. But we bring our carbohydrates down. You get more carbohydrates based on how athletic you are and how lean you are, or how much exercise you do and how lean you are. The fat is what we can control the calories with the most. So we can bring fat. So what happens is if you want to bring your calories up, you can eat a little bit more fat or protein, a little bit more, not a lot, but more fat. You want to eat less calories, you eat less fat. That's to use fat as the metric. So what happens is protein's a standard for the most part. It's pretty standard, 130, let's say 130 grams a day. Your carbs probably are going to go down because you want to lose a lot of weight and we got to get our body in alignment. So we might bring our carbs down to less than 50 grams a day or even less than 30 grams a day. So that's less than 30 grams a day of carbs is only 120 calories. So that's not a lot, right? And then fat would be the thing that you'll deviate based on how many calories you want to eat per day. Does this make sense? I try to get at least 80 to 100 grams in a day. I eat very much. I don't eat very much. So this is a problem, Kat. I'm going to do Kat. This is just going to turn into a coaching call for Kat Evans. So Kat, this is the problem. Your body's, you're a warrior. You're strong. You have all this muscle. You're athletic, but you're not feeding the warrior. You're trying to, your body has to replenish itself. Now you're protecting muscle loss because you're doing keto and you're drinking ketones. So you're protecting it, but you're not fueling it. This is really important. So I want you to do something for me and you're going to feel better. And this is important because the ideal to get you to your optimal weight, we got to get you moving your body more. And that means we have to treat you more for performance. So I want you to hear this really cool. Now that you know your ideal body weight, and once again, if you're just watching this, the ideal body weight, if you hit me a message below, I'll send you and I'll DM you the website I use. But this is super important. Now, I'm not going to tell you 250 grams of protein a day. I'm telling you, I would put you around right around 130, but no less than 110. No less than 110 grams of protein a day, but 130 is probably where you're going to end up functioning the best. So this is what I want you to do though, is you got to come up with ways to eat that the protein is constant. That is the standard. You should put and formulate your day, and you're probably going to have to do that in 3 servings. I'm going to say that again. I love intermittent fasting, but I think people are getting themselves in trouble over fasting. Okay? Especially when they're trying to get healthy. So 3 times you're going to eat 3 meals a day. Now, you can still intermittent fast. You might have your first meal at noon, second meal at 3, and third meal at 7. You're going to have to split that protein up into 3 meals. So set your day up, hit the protein goals, 3 meals. So if you're a vegetarian, you need to be on the higher end because vegetarian protein doesn't convert the same way. This is animal-based recipe here. That's another whole live on vegetarian protein. It's a much more complex. But with animals, it's simple. So what you want to do is you want to say, how much chicken do I need? How much fish do I need? How much elk? How much rabbit? How much squirrel? How much deer? How much bison? Whatever it is that you want to eat, how much do you need? And put it into 3 servings a day. Eggs. Eggs will catch you, so be careful with eggs. They can catch you fast. If you're trying to hit a protein goal with eggs and trying to keep your calories down, you might have to actually throw some of the yolks away just because it's a numbers game at this point. I like the yolk, but when you're trying to use eggs to hit the number, your trade-off is low. So you just have to keep that in mind. So because you still have to be in calorie deficit to lose the weight. So that's the first goal. Second goal is high quality vegetables. And then don't be afraid of fat, but use fat as the metric to control how many calories you're having. And this matters. And Kat, I would tell you this, at least once a month for 2 days, you got to measure how many calories you're eating. Because what you don't want to do is long-term be in caloric deficit. You don't want to be in calorie deficit all the time. I would say at least once a week, if not once every 2 weeks, you want to have a day where you actually hit or even exceed in calories, where it's called a refeed day. So you don't want your body always in lack. You actually want to overfeed it. But I'm not saying eat bad food. I'm just saying eat more on those days. And this is super important. And what you're going to do is you're going to notice is your performance is going to go up. Your ability to walk further, move more is going to go up because you're feeding the warrior inside. You're feeding your body what it needs to rebuild itself. And the more you stay in caloric deficit and protein deficiency, the more that you're wasting muscle loss. I guarantee you right now, if I was to get a blood lab from you, your kidney function would be slowed down, your creatinine levels would be high. There would be some things because you're basically going to start to be catabolic. And that's probably going to happen no matter what the weight you were and where you're going to some degree. We just don't want it to be rapid because that's what sets people up to gain the weight back. And this protein goal is super, super important, but you got to know your ideal body weight also, because you don't know where you're at. You're guessing the range. And I just gave you the answer between 110 grams of protein a day. That's your low end. And then 134 is on the high end. And I would put you towards the high end of this because we want to maintain that. Now, I don't intermittent fast every day anymore. I'll do a 5-day intermittent fast. I'll do a reboot with us 3-4 days a week now. And a disclaimer, I'm working out. I'm getting buff. I'm getting stronger. I'm putting muscle on. I can't get enough calories in and intermittent fast at the same time every day. So I cycle things. This is what I do. So what I would recommend for you is have a day where you don't intermittent fast. And that's your refeed day. On Saturdays, you don't intermittent fast. You get up and you have breakfast. You can still drink your ketones, everything else. And what you do is I'm going to hit the higher end of the protein goal. I want to get a little bit more calories in. Maybe you're hitting 1,500 calories every day. Well, maybe I'm going to move you to 2,500 on those days, or whatever your basal metabolic rate is, which is a little bit more complicated, but you can still get a good range. And this is super important. So you got to know your ideal body weight, which I have the calculator. Just hit me a message below. I'll get you the link to the calculator. Once you get the calculator, then what you do is you got to multiply that number, your ideal body weight. My ideal body weight on my frame is 170. That's my ideal body weight. So my protein consumption is based off of 170 times 1, and I'm between that range. That's 170 grams of protein, or times 0.8, which is like 150 grams of protein. So I eat between 150 and 170 grams of protein. Now, I am in the process of putting on a little bit more muscle. So I don't go below 170. I go on the high side, if not over, because I'm trying to build more muscle, meaning I'm trying to bring extra wood from outside the house, inside the house to build a new room, right? If you want to just repair your current walls, you just got to bring in enough to repair the walls. You don't have to bring extra in. I hope that makes sense. So this is the secret there, Kat. I would say if you're always fasting, you're fasting too much. You gotta unfast and fast. You gotta do both, right? I find that people that are one meal a day and doing all that stuff, they don't get long-term results because you can't provide enough raw materials from just feeding off your own fat tissue. That's not that's the part that we get confused on in this world of keto or the ketogenic diet and things like that, is that, hence we're basing it off of historic ancestral concepts, right? Or off of a medical component. But if you have 100 pounds to lose, you still gotta bring in the other raw materials. You can tap into your fat stores from an energetic perspective. You have a lot of energy on your body, stored fuel, but it doesn't mean that you have all the building blocks to restore your health. So you have to be able to find a way to still eat properly, tap into your fat stores, and you have to cycle it up and down. And maybe Coach Rob DeBoer and I'll get on and do a live on this. This is topic. Hey, Coach, I don't know if you've heard this one before, but I've been struggling, to be honest, working with the average person, not the athletic person, on how to find what's the ideal protein levels. And Dr. Wilson and I were talking, and what he found, I love it. It's been a huge game changer for coaching for me. But what happened is that he's like, hey, listen, help people find their ideal body weight, not their goal body weight, but their ideal body weight. And then you put them in the range of 0.8 times 1 or to 1 gram per body weight, ideal body weight. And that takes the people that are 400 pounds, and it doesn't make them feel like they're never hitting their goals, but it gives them a really strict range to fall within. And then their goals, maybe if they're building muscle, we put them on the high side or a little over. But if they're just maintenance, they got to hit at least the bottom number. And so it's pretty cool. It's a neat little formula. And it's worked really well because I think it's giving people a more ideal range to fall within. And so remember, it's your ideal body weight, not your goal body weight. Most people I'm working with, like Janet, I'm working with Janet right now. She wants to hit 150, but her ideal body weight's 120, 125. Her goal is 150. I'm basing her protein consumption off of her ideal body weight. What I found is, A, she can do it. she's never hit the 150 mark in protein, maybe on a random day. But she can do it. She can hit between 110 or 104 and between 125. And she can do that most days, and she feels proud of it. But then we can customize the rest of her food around it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. But I'm super excited about this. It was interesting. I did a post yesterday, and it's went crazy. I got like 81 comments on it, and they're just still coming in on this ideal body weight thing. And I think we live in a world right now where people are skewed by their goal weight and their ideal body weight. And humans weren't designed. I mean, granted, we're getting bigger as people. We're just bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's fine. I don't think there's actually new science out that shows that big people don't die younger. I always thought that was the truth. They do have some maybe joint components that they have to deal with, but they show that big people that are healthy live just as long as little people that are healthy. So it's super good. That's super good to hear, because I'm always like, I want to be small so I can live longer. Now I'm like, I just want to be strong and healthy and happy, right? But but there is a skewed concept of what our people's ideal body weight should be. And over the next 15 years, it might be skewed a little higher. But what I'm finding is people ideal body weight is much lower than their goal body weights are. And I think this is pretty important for people. And this is, once again, I'm talking about the non-athlete or non-fitness focused person. When you get to the fitness focused person, like things like BMR, they don't BMI. None of this stuff. BMI it's not relevant. I've always been out of scope of BMI, but I've always been lean, healthy, strong, and everything else. So it's just because I've always been into fitness and strength training. So those things don't matter as much. But when it comes to the everyday person, I think these are really important. How do I figure out your ideal body weight? I missed it. Well, you have to go back and watch the live from the beginning, Janelle. I'm just kidding. So what I'm going to do is, if you just put down below, just comment down below. I'm going to send it to you if you even commented on anything. So I'll send it to you. I'll send you a message. But there's a website I found, and I love this site because it does a couple things. It's called Healthy Eater. It's healthyeater.com. Ideal body weight calculator that's the title up top. And but here's the thing: what you do is you put in your sex, not your preference. It's like what your sex were when you were born, what sex you were when you're born. All right, so you put down your sex, and then you put down your height. Remember, after 25 ish, your ideal protein consumption shouldn't change dramatically unless you have a huge fitness goal that you're trying to build on more muscle. It should be a constant, right? Most people should be you should be at your peak physical fitness level or your muscle strength level by 25. That's the reality. That's what it should be. And then you're trying to maintain it for the rest of your life. And I'm talking about the average again. And so what you want to do is that should be a constant. The truth is, as you get older, it might go up a little bit higher. Older people tend to need more protein, or at least they don't digest it as well, so they need to have more. But anyway, so you take your height and your sex, and then you have to measure based off your height how thick is your wrist. And what that does is based off the range, it puts you in it's are you a small frame, medium frame, or a big frame? And this matters, right? So myself, I'm in the big frame. I think I have big bones. I always have. They just don't get smaller when I'm getting, at least fortunately mine aren't getting smaller. But I have big bones. So I'm on the big range. I'm on the bigger range. So what happens when they formulate your ideal body weight? They give you a range. Kat Evans at 5'6", so at 66 inches, female, and she's a medium frame size person. Her ideal body weight is 130 to 134. So this is a calculator. I looked up a lot of websites, and this is the one I found the best that's usable for the average person. Now, it's giving you a range. What you might find is that if you can stay in that range, you might find that you're a little below or a little above. That's okay. But at least you're in a tighter range to make your best educated guess. Because at the end of the day, it's always going to be customizable to individuals. But that's how you figure this out, Janelle. But hit me a comment. I'll drop it down below. And so you got to find your ideal body weight if you really want to find out how much protein you need to consume. And this is for the everyday person that's either trying to do weight loss, just get healthy. And if you want to build muscle, if muscle building is your focus, you're going to be either on the high end of your range, at the highest end, or slightly over. And if you're a fitness freak and you're into fitness, you probably don't need to watch this video anyway, because you probably know what you're doing. So it's not for you. It's for everybody else in the world. So, but you got to know your ideal body weight. It's such a mistake. I keep finding people missing it. They just don't know how much. Now, after that, it's about how do you get your protein in? And I know Kat was just talking about, she's big in intermittent fasting, and I love intermittent fasting. I think everybody should. It's a simple way to reduce calories. It's not the only way, but it's a simple way to reduce calories, and there are health benefits to it. The challenge is you can't always be fasting and you can't always be cutting calories. You have to feed the warrior. You have to fuel the body. If you don't fuel it, it won't grow. And so I think sometimes people get in competitive weight loss or in competitive deficit. Think about it. Like you're always trying to lose or you're always in deficit. That's probably not a good way. That's probably not an optimal way to grow as a person, right? Or to grow. And it's a mindset that we have to switch. And that's one of the things when if somebody's working with me, I'm like, you can't just have a weight loss goal. You have to have a physical fitness goal too. So I'm working with this young lady out in Florida right now, and she is on fire because I keep giving her walking goals. Well, shit, she's gonna be running soon. Like she's doing amazing. And the reality is the scale didn't move much in January. It didn't move a lot. She's changing a lot. It didn't move a lot because I gave her a fitness goal, and she's always had a weight goal her whole life. And I'm like, why don't we focus on something that you can achieve rather than something you have to lose? And it's a mindset shift. But I'm like, now we got to go make sure we're hitting the metrics so that you can perform better. Well, she's ultimately just changing. Her body's just going to transform, but she's going to lose it fast. Also, she's setting herself up to never gain it back and to create the life to maintain it. And a year ago, she might not have been willing to listen to me. So just keep that in mind too, is that you have to be in the right state of mind to listen, to think from a different perspective. And my perspective is the math is easy. Losing weight's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. But you also have to have other metrics to perform by. So gotta go. Time for dinner. Time to go eat some protein. Cheers, y'all. All right. All right.